Good evening. Welcome to Soni Irabor Live. Tonight, we will discuss issues that affect Africa, the rest of the world globally, and indeed America, the tariff nation, they call it these days. Well, when Donald Trump came into power, they call it Trump 2.0. We didn't know exactly what to expect, but within 100 days, it's even up to 100 days yet, Trump has done a lot of things, and we know what that means. But many may not love his approach. Many may see it as one of his ways of doing things. If you want to know what I think, I won't tell you until the end of the program. But I have two great men here with me in the studio. Professor Anthony Kila, who he looks every inch a professor, because that's how they all look these days, academician with all the beards. And then the one that's firebrand with his pen and mouth, Magnus Onyibe. You know, these are two people that you can't take for granted. You have to hear them out. And tonight, we're going to discuss Africa. With the 54 countries, we'll discuss America with 54 states under one nation, and then we'll now look at the globe. So, gentlemen, you're welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Well, you know me and my wahala. I just keep talking, and sometimes I forget that there are reasons why we are here. Let me start with you, Magnus. You don't like Trump. Is that a lie or is that a true?
Of course, that's absolutely a lie. I love
okay.
Trump. Yes. I love Trump. Trump loves Africa. There's a misconception that Trump said that Africa is a shithole country.
Well, he did say it.
It's a misnomer. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. You know, so you can
so whose fault is that with knowledge?
It was propaganda against him. He never said Africa is a shithole country. He only said that, you know, actually what happened was Senator Dick Durbin, who's retiring now, is a very old man, he's been in the Senate for a very long time, took a sweet person to meet Trump to, you know, make some requests. And he looked at him, blue-eyed and everything. He said, these are the kind of people that we want in the U.S., so it's easy for me to grant this kind of request, you know, and stuff like that. Not people from, like, other, you know, countries who are desperate and stuff like that and all that and all that. You know, as you can see, in the past over 100 years that he has been the president, he has not done anything that's anti-Africa. You know, a lot of people were thinking he was going to do that. All Africans in diaspora were going to be sent back and all. This, as I speak, I don't know anybody who has a cousin, friend, or brother who has been sent back from the United States of America based on Trump's policy.
His body language is shifting to the point of saying, are you sure? Tell us the truth. Well, what do you think?
Well, I think I know Magnus Onyibe likes Trump. It's a legitimate liking. I don't like Trump.
Okay.
I'm able to see through his way of acting. So Trump is, you know, what the Austrians, the Prussians, will call a player of Machtpolitik. The German expression is politics of force. You know, the real politics.
Well, he's forceful, actually.
Yeah, he's forceful. So you see, it's a choice. It's a choice to say, Trump's vision is not a vision that aligns with somebody like me. He's not a globalist. He's not a collaborationist. He's not a complementary person. His idea of the world is, we are strong, we look out for ourselves, and we work with whoever plays ball with us.
But if you ask me, and I'm not trying to take sides now, we need an African leader that will say, like Nigeria, this is how I want Nigeria to be. Make Nigeria great again, something like that.
Well, you say that, Soni, but the truth of the matter is that there is no Nigerian leader, actually no African leader, that has come up to say, I don't want my country to be great. They all say that. The gap is, what we need to measure is the gap between what they say and what they do eventually.
Absolutely.
There is no Nigerian leader, there's no African leader who has not professed patriotism. You see, where we define this is that, of course, everybody has to look out for their country. You know, I'm a big fan of international relations, and I know international relations, like all relationship, except in love, is about limited resources. So you have to look out for yourself. And I want our viewers to think about that. It is not that somebody is evil. It's just that there are some people, there's some leaders who have a vision of the world that says, let's be kind to each other. Let's see how, through helping each other, we can become greater. Without those kind of people, slavery will still be there. And I believe, let me speak like an economist now. I actually believe that what we need is competitive collaboration. Has Trump got the right to look out for America? I think yes.
Good.
But I question the method. And part of the question of the method is what has led us from 145% of tariff to now 30 over China. It's about the long view to see what is possible. So,
don't you think that he fought to see how he will react?
Absolutely.
I'm helping you at that. So let's take it from there.
Yes, so absolutely. You know, what a lot of people don't understand is Trump's methodology.
Which is not very attractive, I must say.
His way. Trump is an alpha male.
Yeah.
Right? And he is assertive.
Yeah.
Trump loves America. And that's why he's pushing America first. And everything Trump has tried to do that people resisted because they were unorthodox. People are kowtowing to right now. China is negotiating with the United States of America. China was the only country amongst all the countries that Trump slammed high tariff on that retaliated.
Yes.
And Trump exempted them and asked and paused for 90 days for all other countries.
So those 90 days, was it for them to think and then revert?
Exactly,
or
but
what?
less than 90 days, America, China has come to the US to say, let's negotiate. So Trump just put a pause, 90-day pause on them about a week ago, So they were exempted from the other countries because they retaliated. They took theirs to 125. And Trump said, okay, fine, we are going to impose this 145. There's no pause.
But do you see the demarketing principle behind it?
Yeah.
What the Chinese did. I mean, Apple.
Yeah.
The Apple phone. The iPhone, they call it.
The luxury bags.
We found that the amount that was being sold outside China was so much humongous compared to what...
Do you know something?
What?
Because the US is a democratic country where everybody could complain and they were raising their voices, and Walmart, Target, all the companies were complaining that we're not going to get, enough
materials from China. Yeah.
The US started negotiating. But do you know that Chinese people were almost rioting? Because it's a closed country, we didn't see all of that. They were on the brinks.
There was a rumor about
of course, China is trading 5 times as much with the US of America than the US is trading with them. So they were being hit more than Americans. But because they are not open society where people can express their views and whatever, they were just shut up. But the Chinese authorities knew what was up. That's why they engaged in the negotiation that they did in Geneva, and they now were able to secure a pause that the US, 90 days pause that the US had given to all other countries in the world except China.
It's something I'm going to drag us to, maybe much later. Africa and African nations.
In all
of these. Trump has been careful not to dovetail into all those areas called African. Yeah. You are very African in nature. I like the way you are dressed.
Thank you.
We are all Africans, thank God,
This is Ogun symbol. Ogun state symbol.
Right.
Yes.
So where do you see Africa and vis-a-vis the leadership?
Yes.
You ask, they call us cap in hand nation.
Yes.
Very sad.
Which we should stop. So you asked a very fascinating and complex question. So let's try to break it down. Where do we see Africa, the leadership and perception of Africa? I think at the moment Africa is in a bad place, generally speaking, due to leadership, due to mindset, and due to activities. Let me take you to Nigeria. One of the things that came out from Trump's tariff is that, for example, with all the noise Nigeria is making, Nigeria exports so little to US that we didn't even matter in the scale of things.
We don't produce now.
Exactly. It's a country like Lesotho. In fact, I'm going there in June next month. That we've realized.
Sorry, where's that?
Lesotho.
Lesotho is South Africa.
In South Africa.
Lesotho, yes.
Lesotho.
Okay, yes. Okay, you call it Lesotho?
Yes.
I call it Lesotho.
Lesotho.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
confused. Don't worry.
No, let's stick to yours.
Yes.
So all of a sudden we discover that they are making things.
Yeah.
They're making so much they're making so much that they deserve special attention for tariff.
Yeah.
I think they're giving about 40% of tariff. But all they make is still a drop
Compared to what?
the scheme of things.
Just jeans and diamonds.
So the
But
giant
diamond is the most expensive
Levi
in the
jeans and
world.
diamonds.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's
Yes.
why they've been.
but here's the point.
The deputy prime minister was on Soni Irabor live.
Exactly.
When I was with Lagos Television.
Oh, here you go,
Yes.
to talk to you. So, but here you go. So, the Nigeria with all the noise produced so little that it became insignificant. There was no special attention towards Nigeria. The EU did not come up with the AU, African Union.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have stopped to being OAU. The AU did not come up with anything significant. We were just there.
There was even no reference at
There's no reference there. So that tells you where we are is a bad shape. Where would I like to see us? I would like to see us as more proactive. What we lack, okay, let me say what we have first. What we have is a vibrant young market that can be a base for production and a base for consumption.
So
We can make, we can buy.
young Africans are trying to do now.
And we need to encourage them.
Yeah.
And we need to have more of that. So that's where we ought to be going to. And we should see ourselves as an alternative market for consumption and for production. I.e., let investors come and do factories there. Then let us buy more things as well. To do that, we need to boost our economic base. We need consumer
Sorry,
credit.
I need to chip in something there.
Yes,
I don't
please.
want to break your flow of
No,
thought, but then
not a problem.
if you really look at it,
Yeah,
China was producing for America.
absolutely, yeah.
Bangladesh
Yeah.
is producing for
America, yeah.
Vietnam is producing
yes,
for
yes,
America.
yes.
Even Taiwan.
Yes, absolutely.
So where is Africa?
Malaysia.
But
Malaysia
that's what the
too.
problem
But
is.
that's the problem, yeah, that's the problem. We're not, and we need to develop that mindset.
Yes, that's where the problem is. You know, as Prof was saying earlier,
Yeah.
two items
Yeah,
that Lesotho exposed to the United States of America
Yeah.
attracted the
the tariff.
40% plus tariff.
Yeah.
Diamonds and Levi jeans. And the Levi jeans export was facilitated by AGOA, African
Yes.
Growth and Opportunity Act.
Yeah.
Introduced under
Clinton.
Bill Clinton in 2000,
yes.
right? You know, and so Africa doesn't export much, which is the bane of this country. But incidentally, right now in Nigerian Parliament, there's a bill that they are proposing that's going to be passed that 30% of value must be added to raw materials before they are exported.
Okay.
It's going through the
So
process
to,
right now.
You know, beef up our income.
Absolutely.
Or
You know that
revenue.
30% will value must be added. That's one. Two, in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a conference, African-wide conference, that's going to be held in Nigeria. And it is about how to boost export out of Nigeria with added value. As a matter of fact, in the past 2 years, I've been writing a book titled Africa Exporting Wealth,
Yes.
Importing Poverty.
Let's make sure you finish it this year. Go
Yes,
ahead.
you know, so yes,
we shall be back to discuss
Yes,
it. This
I'm
is-
nearly
Yeah,
done.
in fact,
I'm nearly
thank you
done.
for saying that,
So
yeah.
right, so
So publicly, we're
person-
expecting Magnus Onyibe's book.
no problem.
This year.
It's almost done.
Thank you for saying that because I've been waiting too.
One person that has already
We shall
solved the
come back to
problem
this
right
one
now.
day.
Let's
Yeah.
take Nigeria for instance. We have been exporting crude oil,
Yeah.
but Alhaji Aliko Dangote
Yeah.
has changed the game. Right now, he's exporting refined products from here as far as to the United States of America
For a
and Saudi Arabia.
change.
For a change.
For a change. The same thing is happening with cocoa. The same thing is happening with coffee and all that, whatever. You know, so it's going to change. But incidentally, something else that Nigeria is exporting
Yeah.
to the United States of America is urea.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. You know,
For
and
fertilizer. and-
yes, urea, you know, that Dangote is producing.
Yes.
And Dangote has a better deal than Algeria, for instance. Algeria is the fourth largest exporter of urea to the United States of America.
Yeah.
But US slammed Algeria with
tariff.
about 25%, 30% tariff,
Yeah.
and they slammed us with only 10% for now.
Yeah.
So Dangote still has advantage.
Why did you ask for now?
For now,
Well, yeah, because
for
we've
now.
not grown.
because
But that's the
90%
thing.
No,
yes.
wait. 90%,
Yeah.
90
Because
days
you're importers.
pause has been given.
Yes.
Okay.
So when Trump comes back with a new tariff,
He's gonna
they may
review
add
it.
more to the 10%. There's 10% flat across the globe, everybody.
Okay.
10%, whatever, you know. So in 90 days, they're going to review and see whether they're going to add 20%, 10%, or whatever.
I think this must be said when we come back to Nigeria. The bill about adding 30% of value to our raw material before we export them, I need to say that it is a good thing that they're doing that, but it's a bad thing that we needed a bill to do that. You will think that with all the education we've had in this country, all the exposure that people have had, people like yourself, people like Magnus Onyibe, that have traveled the world, that have seen things, that have read papers and watched documentaries, you would think it would be commonsensical and evolutionary for us to know that the bigger profit comes from processed materials, not just selling the raw.
No, not this.
You produce cocoa, the money is in coffee and beverages.
And chocolates.
And chocolates. You produce fruit, the money is in fruit juice and other things. You think our mindset would be that way. For us to need the law. And that takes me back to your question.
Yes.
Where's Africa? Where do you want to see? I would like Nigeria and Africa to develop a more proactive mindset. With all my criticism of Trump, I believe ultimately, if we play our game well, Trump does us a favor.
He has in the way, and
Yes.
that's very constructive.
Absolutely. You know, so
Yeah.
look, people think that, or have been brainwashed into thinking that President Trump is anti-Africa. That's completely untrue. President Trump is anti-lazy people, be they white, brown, or black.
His media, experts should direct that information properly.
Okay, look,
Because it's not for us to think or determine that. No, it's not.
yes, Trump, as you said, is a very direct person.
Yes.
He doesn't try to make things
Sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't sugarcoat. He just says it the way it is. And as you said earlier, Trump throws a bait
He does.
and people come to it. And Trump never intended that there was going to be 145% tariff on China. He just wanted them to come to the table, and everybody's coming to the table right now.
He actually
So
mentioned that.
people were wrong. Exactly. So people were completely wrong, and they were thrown off balance, and they've not been able to figure him out. And that's why it's as if I'm second guessing him.
But I think two things. I think two things. I think one, if possible, Washington, the White House, they should not take Magnus Onyibe to speak for them because he speaks better. He speaks better for Trump than the Trump staff, including many people in his
you for saying
cabinet
that. I noticed.
that are creating a lot of chaos. Maybe they should get him. But the problem, though, is that we must acknowledge that even if Trump does us a favor, his intention was not to do us a favor.
No.
It's an accidental good thing that is happening from that. So we need to take cognizance of that. But, it makes us tough.
That's not Trump's fault.
No, let's talk about,
So look,
Well, he's not
Trump
going
was
to
saying
get a
something
brownie for that.
No.
Trump was saying
Maybe he would
something
go to hell for it, but,
Trump was saying something earlier.
Yeah.
That it should have been taken for granted that we would know that we should add value to our raw materials before they go out.
Yes.
But there's conspiracy against us. I'll give you an instance. These people out there work with our civil servants at the top.
Yeah.
We were
To keep us
speaking
down.
about airpeace earlier.
Yeah.
I'm sure you heard of the incidents of
In England, yeah.
FAN,
Yeah.
the Nigerian Airport Authority,
For that matter.
giving airpeace landing space that is like Siberia, and
Far away
giving
from the
foreign
normal.
airlines
Yes.
the better one. And the same treatment is given to airpeace. They're giving space that is not of any use. So in your country, you are treated as if you're nothing.
Yeah.
In other countries, you're treated as if
treated
you're
even worse.
nothing. Because our civil servants are compromised. The same thing applies to the oil sector. You've heard Alhaji Dangote complaining about cabal. It's civil servants. It's public servants. They are compromising us and whatever. Look, you are aware, Prof, that in Egypt, all the Nike shoes that they wear in Egypt are made in Egypt.
Yes, yeah.
Can you imagine that?
This is
Are you not telling me that we cannot do same in Nigeria?
We should have. Over the past 10 years, Egypt is 80 million people. We're 220 million people.
Good.
So the market is there.
Ought to have been done a long time
But I
ago.
agree with you. But again, you see, when you ask that question,
Yes.
what kind of Africa would I like to see? I would like to see people who are proactive enough to take up this kind of thing. Be it Dangote's story, be it the EP story. When they took it up, they got support. So we go to the third part of your question, because you raised a fantastic, fascinating
You are
framework.
indeed a professor.
The leadership.
Yes.
The leadership issue comes to fore. We have a flawed leadership in our private sector, in our public sector, in our educational sector, in our religious sector, and in our social life generally.
And it's
What we need to
rearing its
bring is
head.
that leadership. You
It's
want to
rearing
have that
its head
leadership.
in what's going on in places like Zamfara.
Exactly.
Where gold is being mined and taken away under our noses. And
There
we're
will
not reacting.
always be people who are
Limestone in
compromised.
Kokogi,
Yes.
the same thing happening.
So-
Airstrips that are not legal. For goodness sake, what is happening?
But that has been stopped. And the good news coming out of the whole system right now is that Kano State just launched the first lithium processing factory in Nigeria.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Good.
that's one. Two, the Prof also, made a statement that, about Nigerian leaders, that all leaders, both Nigerian, any
African leaders.
wanting to make their country
Great, yes. They all say that.
whatever,
yes.
But I'm saying that, incidentally, in the past 1 week, something good has happened in Nigeria as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has also said that he wants to put Nigeria first.
Yeah.
Right?
Beautiful.
A lot of people that are criticizing that are saying, oh, he should change his car to
Nigerian-made car.
to Nigerian
That
made
doesn't
car,
make
a
sense.
car from
But the Nigerian-made car is fine.
the guy from
Innocent.
It's good,
Innocent.
but these things don't happen overnight.
Overnight, no.
His car has to be kitted.
Yes.
Like the aircraft that Qatar just gifted Trump, it will take about a year or longer to retrofit.
But hang on a second. But it is possible, though.
It's going to
But it is
produce
possible
the car
for
the
him,
president.
though.
It will be retrofitted.
Here's the thing.
And it
I
takes time.
believe, it's all about vision. I believe that if you have that vision, it is very possible for the president to request for his car to be kitted by Innocent. So that he can use the made in Nigerian car.
Law.
Yes.
The law, the constitution
Yes.
provide enabling sources for that kind of thing to happen.
But you see,
It
here's the thing.
doesn't just drop overnight.
It doesn't drop, but we
You
need,
have to
there's the
plan.
thing though, and there's the difference between I and most people, including the two of you here.
Yes.
I'm not a big believer of new laws. Actually, I'm allergic to laws. I believe in persuasion, information. You don't need the law if you're president of Nigeria to say, because I want to use a made in Nigeria car, Mr. Innocent's car, make me a Nigerian car.
Yeah.
You don't need it. And I tell you more.
Russia did that.
No.
And I tell you more, with ladder and all the things.
Yeah.
And I tell you more, it is actually possible, between the time of doing it, it is possible to enter an agreement where you have an innocent or Nigerian branded car that has that feature.
Right.
Governance should not be knee-jerk reaction. Let me tell you something. If I was going to be president of Nigeria, 4 years before campaigning, I'll have had it in my mind that I'm going to use a Nigerian car. So by the time I get there, before I make this announcement, I will have made this plan 2 years ago. And so we need to, and it's a good thing. I mean, people like me, and I'm sure even President Tinubu knows this because they've had a chance to tell me.
Gentlemen, I need to stop you here.
You know,
because we have
stop
to
it.
take a short break.
Yes, we
But
should take it.
Keep your thoughts
I'll give
because
it,
that's
yeah.
the way it is. We always interject.
That's fine.
We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. This is the vibrant arguments. You can say that again. Soni Irabor Live will be back in a moment. Soni Irabor Live. Yes, I'm excited because it's not often that you see people like these two gentlemen. They're almost punching each other. But I love it because Nigeria, Africa, they need these kind of people to take us to the promised land. Trump or no Trump. And Magnus said Trump is baiting us. I'm not using his words, I'm using my words. And Professor Kila said, whatever he's doing, Africans need to wake up. And I'm saying, and I'm in between the two of them, I like his baiting, I like the African leadership, if they will wake up, saying is what you said,
Yes.
and not go cap in hand.
Absolutely.
You were somewhere when you were.
Well, I was somewhere that there are people like me who always ask for more. Whilst Magnus Onyibe is Mr. Trump of Africa, with, you know, with a particular liking for President Tinubu as well. I'm exposing him so that people should know where he is. He's Mr. Trump of Africa and a big fan of President Tinubu, which is legitimate. I, by my nature, am not a fan of anybody. I tend to push people more. No matter what they do, I will see what more can be done. And that is why, for example, I believe that when you talk about leadership, which is a core thing that we miss in our setup, we need a leadership with vision and foresight. Good leadership is not about knee-jerk reaction. We need to learn the difference between strategy and tactics. You need to be able to have an overall picture and think ahead. So that when you do things, it is not just what you're doing, it's something you've thought about before. So that when we say it takes time to get a Nigerian car, I believe that the president should be using Nigerian cars. I believe so. They should fast track it, they should do everything. But if it's not possible, we should admit it's not possible, not that it doesn't matter.
Okay?
All right.
There's a thin red line between what you wish for and what you actually get.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
And that thin red line, if it snaps,
it's time. You know,
terrible.
It's time.
Yes.
Okay, so the point is that, you know, it is easier said than done.
Yeah.
You know, the greatest thing, the most important thing, and the thing that's feared most by politicians is time.
Yeah.
President Tinubu has been in government for less than
2 years.
24 months.
Yeah.
Right?
31 to 2 years.
No, he's not. Yeah.
29 to British.
And he came in with a gamut of things. And he needed to solve a lot of problems. He started
Let's
on
put it
day
in
one.
perspective. He inherited
Exactly.
a lot of
exactly. So he needed to solve a lot of problems.
Yes.
So he started with removing petroleum subsidy, Naira subsidy, and everything.
That was
so,
a delicate one he did.
Exactly. So
I'm still reacting from it.
Exactly. So everything has been crazy. So he didn't have the comfort, he didn't have the liberty of time to begin to think of, you know, driving a Nigerian car and telling them to go and retrofit it, you know, and stuff like that and all that and all that. Those were not his priorities. He prioritized things and he started dealing with them. My guess is that at month 18, he stopped doing tough things that will discomfit Nigerians and started calming down because it's going to 24 months. And, you know, and he expected that within 18 months, those things will begin to yield benefits, some of which are happening.
Crazy.
Okay, that is President Tinubu.
Yeah.
President Trump, in less than 100 days, did a lot of things because based on his experience, he had been there for 4 years.
Yeah.
So he realized, okay, there are 3 ways of making
Before
laws.
you go further, he used the phrase earlier,
Yes.
knee-jerk.
Yeah.
It's not
It did not
knee-jerk.
escape me.
That's the
Trump
point I'm
is
trying to make. It's not knee-jerk. He learned from experience. From his first 4 years, he realized that there are 3 ways of making law.
Executive.
Going to parliament,
Yeah.
right? Going to the courts,
Yeah.
and the executive order. So he realized that if you go to the parliament, it will take forever because they are
Debates upon
partisan.
debates.
If it goes through parliament, there could be interpretation issues, like in Nigeria, for instance. You know, they went
They'll
to
go
Supreme
to the court,
Court
yeah.
and they
No, you
ruled.
mean the courts.
The court, yeah.
Yeah, the court system. You know, the court ruled that all the local governments in Nigeria should be paid directly from the federal government, whatever. That has not been implemented. You know, so you have that issue. But executive order is instant time.
Yeah.
And he knew he had no time. So that's why he came with a flurry of executive orders. And now they are now being reviewed by courts. But he has also pushed back to say he is the president. The courts are not the executive. They cannot decide for him what he needs to do. So and they're
But you know, he's in a country.
Yes, whatever.
He's in a country that has a lot of different people and different mindsets.
respect for rule of law.
Respect for rule of law.
Yeah, so they're in the
yes,
courts
one.
right now And he's winning a lot of them. A lot of, is the citizenship one that's in court
right now? Tinubu?
Say what?
No.
Trump.
Okay.
Yeah, so, as for President Tinubu, you know what happened. A lot of people were saying that he should have passed the end of petroleum subsidy through the parliament.
Yeah.
You know what happened with the tax reform bill. It's just going through whatever for so long. But with executive order EO, it was instant time. All right, so he knows the benefits of all those.
But Magnus,
you don't have time. As a politician, you don't have time. Well, saying that you have to give innocent time and you tell them, go and retrofit a vehicle for me, that will take 18 months. And he has been in government less than 24 months. He couldn't have, that's not his priority. His priority was
how long did it take him to retro, what did he use again?
To retrofit
the aircraft.
This one that they just gave, no. That was done longer than we knew. We don't even know where that aircraft came from.
Well, that's what we're hoping they should have done with the car.
If you put it to the open, that would not have happened. And listen, Innocent Motors does not have capacity to supply vehicles to everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
It couldn't even give vehicles to Abia State when they needed it.
Yeah.
So we should think of capacity.
We should have capacity. I agree with you.
So look, Tinubu, as far as I know, has Nigerian interest in mind. It's not easy for him to
I agree with that as well.
It's not easy for him to decide
Magnus, I want it on record.
He knows the consequences. He knows the challenge that
I want it on record that I think President Tinubu and the whole of his cabinet, especially him, they are very high on intention, but low on capacity. I think their heart is good, but they're getting it wrong. It must be said if we want them to improve. The way they're going about it is the wrong way. Most of the time.
Is it because there are not the right people in the right places, or what is the reason?
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's something in Abuja, because some of the people there, we respected them before they got there. There are some things going on that there's some errors that they're committing.
That's why you need me.
That are avoidable errors.
Bureaucracy. Yeah. You were in government for a short while.
Yeah.
It's a different ball game when you get into government. There are lots of considerations. There are lots of things that are on the table. That ordinarily, as a businessman, as a free man, you just make your decision cut.
Well, I believe that
there are all sorts of things that you have to take into consideration.
I don't think the president needs somebody like Magnus Onyibe. I think he needs Magnus Onyibe in particular, to speak for him and to express this kind of thing. Because the people there, they're not doing the kind of job he's doing. Well, he makes me reason.
You see,
I want to say this. He makes me reason. They make me wonder.
There's a gateway in all of this. Magnus Onyibe or not.
Yes.
To get to the president's table or whatever service you're even trying to advocate, there will be a gateway.
And that is why I believe
the gateway
is
the
those are the blocking, the mind, very good,
yes. And the unnecessary
and the civil servant, the necessary blocking.
Yes.
But guess what? But here's the thing though. This is where leadership comes in.
Right.
I'll tell you two things. When you say Trump is going through executive orders because it's faster and he's circumventing parliament.
It happens in Nigeria as well.
Well, why doesn't he suspend democracy totally? That will be faster. Let us abolish election. That would be a very fast way.
It is not possible.
No, it's not.
Give it time, we'll get there.
It's not
Give it time.
See, look,
but you see, that is one thing. No, you're right. But you see, you know where leadership matters. We talk about American democracy and the parliamentary system and talk about Nigeria. I have another example in this same world, over not more than 2 decades ago. In Britain, when Tony Blair came into power, within a week, he got a lot more done than Tinubu and Trump put together. And guess what? He did it through Parliament. He established independence of the Bank of England. He abolished a lot of things. He reset the NHS within a week in office, and everything was through Parliament. You know what we can learn from that? There was a clear...
How did you get the parliamentarians to accept to do it?
That is the lesson. And you know how? There was a clear shared vision.
Okay.
Before they got there. It's about leadership.
Can we say that Tony Blair is the best prime minister of the UK in the past 20 years?
Nope.
So why?
But in the past 20 years, actually, I would say that. In the past 20 years, I would say yes, he was.
So, no, absolutely not. He knows he's not.
Who's better than him?
So the point
who is better than him?
Thatcher was very effective.
No, Margaret Thatcher was way before.
So the issue is that, like I said, there are lots of bottlenecks in government.
But my thinking, Magnus, I agree with you, they're bottlenecks. I agree with you that are corrupt people, they're compromised people, they're conspiratory people. But these things are not Nigerian, they're human. The reason why you have these words in languages of English, French, German is because they're there too. The difference is that you need a leadership that can foresee this problem and goes to that office knowing that I am going to have to deal with roadblocks, gateways. I'm going to have to deal with corrupt people. I'm going to have to deal with compromised people. I'm going to have to deal with conspiracy. And yet, I want to be president, and this is my plan.
And I am in charge.
And I'm in charge. And this is why
I used to say the buck stops here.
Yeah. And this is why I never cut presidents a slack. Because nobody forced them to be president.
Yes.
So when they're there, they should take all the heat.
Yes.
It's a very tough call. What he's saying. Right now, one person
But
in,
did you hear
in
what
Africa
he said
that
about
doing it. Yes.
you are, if you think of wanting to be president,
Yes.
you should be prepared
For
to do
all
the
these
work,
things.
For all, yeah.
Two, my response to that is that a lot of people who became president did not plan to be president.
Not this president, though.
It did not plan.
Not President Tinubu. He's an exceptional
No,
president.
he said a Milocon. That's
Yes,
what he
yes,
said.
No, he had a
Yeah.
lifelong
Yeah.
ambition.
He thought,
No.
he thought he would be president, and he narrowly didn't become president. If
But he was
not,
focused on what he wanted to do
That
for
is
the
the thing.
country.
yes, if he was not lucky, he would not have been president. All forces were arrayed against him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is that, look, we're speaking about Africa right now.
Yeah.
Let's take the Burkina Faso president for
Yes.
instance.
Ibrahim Traore.
Ibrahim Traore never planned to be president. He happened,
Yeah.
to become president.
Yeah.
Look at how emphatic he has been. I don't know if you have seen the letter he just wrote to the Pope and the Pope's response.
Yeah.
But you do know, there's a major debate globally
Yes.
about conspiracy theories
Yes.
about Traore,
Yes.
misinformation, disinformation, and
AI,
information, all of that.
Yeah.
So we don't know what is what.
No,
There are so many people who are against him for just
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is that
Yeah.
Traore is a modern day president.
right.
Just like the Rwandan president has been doing.
And the
Traore is
Canadian one
very-
before he fell out of grace.
Yeah,
Yes.
Traore is very heavy on information technology
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything and whatever.
Yeah.
So they're projecting him excellently well and everything. But he has been a president that has been very pragmatic.
Yeah.
That has been very emphatic about being an African,
Yeah.
about being independent, and about trying to make things happen.
That's correct.
He is not a Democrat.
Yes.
Of course,
He's a military hunter.
Exactly. So he's a dictator. So
Yeah.
he doesn't have a parliament to face.
Oh,
Tinubu
so it's
has a
easier. I
parliament
get
to
you.
face.
Yeah.
He has.
Oh, this parliament is not that
Yeah.
tough.
Let's just
That-
take
that's
tax,
the
for
difference.
instance. Let's just
Yeah.
take the tax issue, for instance.
Yes.
You and I agree, you are an economist, you all agree that the tax reforms are necessary and everything.
Yeah.
But look at how long it has taken. It has
Yeah.
not even become real.
Fair enough.
Look at the law. They went to court. Supreme Court passed a law that local government should be funded direct from the federal. It's not
From
happened.
fund, yes.
But petroleum subsidy has been removed because it's EO,
Yes, executive order, yes, yes.
Please, let me take a short break.
Yes.
We need to take a short break. We'll be right back after this message. Welcome back. Now, we just have a few more minutes to go, maybe about 8 minutes or thereabout, but I want to make, in context, in perspective, how do we survive this whole trend? Nigeria should be the largest economy in Africa.
Yeah.
Nigeria is the most populous in Africa and in the world. Nigeria should therefore stand in a manner that we, the other Africans, should emulate and follow. But Nigerians are very assertive and very argumentative, and they do not follow the true process that we need. Due process, not true process, due process.
Yeah.
So, now we have Trump. We're using Trump as a benchmark.
Yeah.
What are the other Africans doing? African leaders?
Well, the other African leaders, I think they're quiet, they're confused. They're trying to say, there is something that has come up, from our connection. I work with the Commonwealth Institute, and I head the African group. So I look at African policymakers and intellectuals, and I think there's a consensus that instead of going to Trump as a group of Africans, it's going to be more efficient as if individuals speak to him.
Okay.
individual countries, because Trump is a very touchy-feely person. Two things make Trump tick. One is if he likes you or not, and the other is if you are bringing value to the table. If you go with a basket of the whole of Africa, there you go.
It's human.
Yes, so but it's very human. Maybe, you know, human, maybe too human, as Friedrich Nietzsche would have said about such, you know, maybe it's too human. So if you go with a basket of the whole of Africa, there might be a problem. So Africa's best strategy, I think, I advise, is for individual states to go and negotiate with him and have a rapport with him. To this extent, amazingly, guess what I think would do very well with Trump is actually President Tinubu. He would like those kind of people. This kind of person. But I think Africa needs to build its capacity above all.
Okay.
Besides relating to him.
There's something that just came up that I should quickly push at both of you. You see, the Nigerian nation is very African in nature.
Yeah.
But Trump looks to, hopefully, Africa. Where will Africa begin to now look at itself as a productive continent?
Okay, see, look,
So we can make money.
Africa is Nigeria's center point of foreign policy. So Nigeria is leading Africa, whether we like it or not. Now, the US had an arrangement with Mexico and Canada, USMCA, and they had almost tariff-free arrangement with them.
Until Trump came.
Until Trump came. So when Mexico realized that Trump's policy, slamming tariff on them, was going to vitiate or was counter to that arrangement, they pushed back. And Trump said, oh yeah, I didn't know that, and he corrected it. Africa had a similar situation. We had an AGOA, Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, started since 2000, of which he was just alluding to that Lesotho was exporting diamond and Levi jeans. But Trump slammed them with 40% tariff. Well, that's against AGOA arrangement. So that's where the African continent as a whole, represented by AU,
the BRICS
should go.
concept in
The
this-
very concept as well.
BRICS, yes.
BRICS is
Including
counter
your
to the
argument.
US.
It's kind of, he wouldn't like that.
No, he doesn't. Of course, absolutely. That's why he's against South Africa. You know, BRICS is trying to counter the
What's an
world order.
alternative bloc?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're trying to counter the world order.
Do you
And
support
the-
it?
Of course, the US doesn't like that.
No, but
You know,
you like the idea.
Of course
okay,
not.
who is leading it? China and
The
Russia.
short answer is you
And Brazil.
don't.
Yes.
Because it's
Yes,
not good
Russia
for Trump.
and China are leading it. And where is it going to take us? Okay, fine. If we go with China, they're not going to respect human rights. They're not going to respect due process.
So that's the fear.
Prof is a Commonwealth person and whatever, and they have all the rules and regulations. China is not interested in all of that. Russia is not interested in all of that. You know, but also, US has just realized that they're not trading enough with Africa.
Yes.
And US is planning that before the end of this year, there's going to be a meet and greet between Africa and the United States of America. There's going to be a
Natural
conference.
minerals
It's
in
coming up.
Africa.
Yes.
DR Congo.
Yes.
Even Nigeria
Yes.
and South
Yes.
Africa and Lesotho and all of that. Where are all those
That
raw?
is the direction that we have moved the US to right now. When US was doing everything it was doing about Ukraine, protecting Ukraine because it wanted its
they didn't say
rare earth
alternative.
minerals,
Rare,
we reminded them
Yes.
that DRC has rare earth mineral and DRC had conflict. America should go and protect DRC and collect the rare earth mineral. And let me also tell you, people were thinking that Trump didn't know what he was doing.
But China
Trump
says-
knew,
China
Trump
claims to
knew-
have all the rare.
Hold. Trump knew he was going to get into a fight with China. And rare earth minerals were coming from China. So you can see why he was trying to get the rare earth minerals from
other sources.
Ukraine and from. So people kept saying that Trump was just knee-jerk. It's absolutely wrong. Trump knows what he's
You think
doing.
it's strategic?
He knows where he's going. It's strategic. If you look at the time he started, as soon as he came to power, he wanted the rare earth mineral from Ukraine. And he said President Biden was wrong in not doing a deal, giving them so much resources without asking for something else. And he said what they have is rare earth mineral. The same thing the US did with Kuwait.
Yeah.
When the US extricated or extracted or retrieved Kuwait from the arms of Saddam Hussein of Iraq. They took oil from them. And so he shouldn't have gone to give, Ukraine so much help without asking for help.
We have to round off now.
Trump is strategic.
Yes, 30 seconds each. I want something from you, I want something from you, based on the arguments we've put up.
Well, I think Trump is an accident to Africa, but Africa can do, when life throws you lemon, you make lemonade, or as they say, they throw you pepper, you make pepper soup.
Absolutely.
With what is going on with Trump, Africa needs to be proactive and have a bigger vision than it has now. And leadership is key.
Yes. A lot of people don't know the United States of America is building the biggest embassy in the world in Nigeria, Eco-Atlantic City. That matters. After diplomacy, trade comes, right? So I see a Trump Tower springing up in Lagos, Nigeria, or Abuja. So, but people are not saying Trump as such. Trump is ready to engage with Africa, and that is in the offing right now.
And I see a Soni Irabor live going global with every particular discussion we've had tonight. And I hope you've got some messages out of that. Soni Irabor live, thank you very much. Professor Anthony Kila. You are not a killer. And Professor Magnus Onyibe, the great author.
We'll be back.
Thank you all. Great guys. It's been a beautiful program. Thank you for being with us. Bye-bye now.